Greetings and welcome to Bridging the Gap. This next video is about invisible, inverted commas, health conditions, autism, mild brain injuries and creating humane friendly spaces, sensory friendly, autistic friendly. And what I'm going to talk about right now are the invisible conditions, and we could make society a lot more accommodating, and we could bring down the statistics for self-harm and suicide in the world if everyone was just a little bit more thoughtful. Managers of businesses, leisure centres, cafes. I've had a few experiences when I've approached the customer services with a problem and I needed help with it. I haven't got an advocate, so I haven't got anyone to speak for me, so I've got to mask it, all the internal struggles, the brightness of the lights, the loudness of the radio adverts, and approach the desk to say, please can I exchange this item, I bought it and it's faulty, or just for argument's sake, that as an example. And then they talk back at you and all you can see are lips moving and your brain is actually frying and you're finding it really hard to stay regulated, your nervous system, your emotions, everything, and your thoughts are flying all over the place. And you want to make sure you get the information right because it's an expensive item and maybe they won't allow you to change it twice. You've got to get it right the first time. And then you say to the person in customer services, would you mind if we had this conversation somewhere quieter because I'm not retaining the information? And then they speak louder and more clearer and more patronising. They raise their voice as if you're deaf or stupid, but that's not the case. They don't understand what autism is. Maybe they've judged the way I've looked or they've judged my tone of voice. But the fact is I don't get listened to the first time. But if there was maybe a carer with somebody who is severely autistic and they were to say, well, maybe they wouldn't even have to ask because the person at customer services would clearly see that the problem is going to exacerbate if they don't provide a sensory friendly environment immediately. But with a woman, maybe, or a man, but with me personally, who's masking, if I ask for accommodations or reasonable adjustments, it turns into a confrontation or it turns into maybe a man on a power trip trying to get the information across to me in a way the stupid woman understands, you know. And that's been my experience many, many times. And I'm asking you, if you've had this experience, please write it in the comments section. I would like to know. I will listen to you. You are heard, you are valid, and you deserve the help. I wonder about the amount of times autistic people, vulnerable people get ripped off in society, in shops, shortchanged. It probably happens more times than anyone realises unless it's been done to you and you've arrived home and realised, oh, I'm sure I had a £10 note in my wallet. And then it occurs to you after the occasion, because you've got a delayed processing in the brain, it might not occur to you in an overwhelming environment what is going on, and you might trust the person, especially when you've got autism or ADHD. We tend to have more empathy and we tend to be more trusting. Together we need to raise awareness of these invisible conditions so that we can create safe spaces for people to want to feel part of a community, and that a level of predictability can be attained where there are no significant triggers which can potentially set a person back years in their healing journey or much worse. Did you know that inhalation of a toxic aerosol particle can potentially cause sudden death syndrome? It's a worst case scenario, but as we know, if somebody drops dead of a heart attack, we don't actually know what caused the heart attack. We could say it was old age, but still that is not a reason, it's not a valid justification of the death of that individual. Toxic inhalation lowers oxygen in the blood and affects heart function. It's bad for the environment and can create a higher risk of cancer. Spraying of aerosols can exacerbate brain injury symptoms, especially in individuals with a history of TBI, concussion or neurological disorders. It disrupts neurotransmitter function. It worsens brain fog, dizziness, confusion. It triggers headaches, migraines and vertigo. And it reduces oxygen supply to the brain. It can cause irritability, it affects behaviour, toxic inhalation, lowers oxygen in the blood and could affect the heart. See the description for a full list of symptoms. So I've written a letter of complaint to the manager of these leisure centres. It's a universal letter, so if you'd like a template, please email me and I will email you a copy so you can just fill in the blanks, the venue and the person's name you're writing to, and just put your name and address in the top right hand corner, sign it and send it, so you don't have to do any work. Yes, so in the communal public areas there's nasty aerosol sprays being sprayed, and it doesn't only cause what I've mentioned, it could cause oxygen in the blood, which could cause, in a worst case scenario, sudden death syndrome. But the coroner wouldn't say that that was the cause. They'd say heart attack or something like that. So we just brush these things off as heart attack, or he died of old age. But nobody actually does anything to help us live longer, healthier lives. And it's about time we started. And if we all came together, it would be really, really helpful. Especially at Christmas time, you go to a shop, maybe a cheap shop, and then there's all these aftershaves and sprays just as you go through the door, which encourages you to just pick a box up and throw it in the trolley. Oh, that will do for Uncle Bill, or that will do for Auntie Vera. Do you know what I mean? And maybe Uncle Bill and Auntie Vera might not want that toxic spray. Maybe they don't want to have cancer. Maybe they feel a little bit less worthy because the gift wasn't thoughtful and they would rather you give that money to charity. So I think we should all be a bit more thoughtful when it comes to these things. I'd like to promote more understanding, patience and compassion in our society, in our local communities. There could be many causes of mild brain injuries. It could be due to concussions throughout your life. Alcohol and drugs can exacerbate it. Depression, isolation can equal to more addiction, which can exacerbate it even more, and being forced to be in overwhelming, busy, noisy places. There are people who have been in abusive relationships who are more likely to self-blame or self-medicate, or they could be spiked by their abuser. They may be blamed by police and not believed by the doctor. They could be medicated heavily or labelled with a mental health condition like BPD or bipolar, or just put on antidepressants and made to feel like it's their fault. So isn't it a wonder that people don't report these things? So if people are not reporting on it, then people are unaware it's happening, and it's so easy for people to look at another person staggering up the road and say, that person's drunk. In my own experience, I've been in a car with a police officer and we were at the traffic lights and two people crossed the road with alcoholic drinks in their hands, and they staggered across the road and one of them brushed past the bonnet of the car while the traffic lights were on red, and the policeman said, "It will be no loss to the world if I just run those people over." And that really upset me. I just wanted to get out of that car and run. But I was frozen up like a fawn and I was strapped in and I was scared. I was more scared of being trapped in that police car with that horrible man than I was why I was in that police car in the first place, was to take me to Women's Aid to do a statement because my neighbour abused me and spat at me for no reason. So if anything like that happens again, I probably will not phone the police just because of that experience. And it happens so much in life. You only have to walk through town and see a homeless man being restrained and about 6 officers on top of that man. It's unfair. That wouldn't happen to an animal. In fact, if it was a wild animal, they'd probably throw a net over it, or they'd have a stick with a hoop on the end and 2 men. It's very rarely they have 6 people trying to restrain an animal, so why do it to a human? It's inhumane. And people need to be more aware of the mental health struggles that people are struggling with alone in society. There needs to be more compassion, more understanding, and more patience and less judgment, and let's end the stigma together. People who have been victims of domestic abuse might not be believed by police or the doctor, especially women, especially if they are intoxicated due to being spiked by the abuser or by drinking alcohol or doing drugs to mask the pain and to mask the head injury itself, which is quite common, so they tend to not get listened to. They get labelled with a mental health condition or labelled as highly emotional or as a druggie or an alkie, which then makes victims not want to come forward and disclose. The fact that victims don't come forward and report abuse to the police and possible head injuries, concussions, and maybe they don't tell their doctors, tells me that the statistics are severely underestimated. So with more compassion, we can make public places more sensory friendly, more humane friendly, so that people would like to come out of their houses and actually be a part of the community. Please comment below and share your experiences. Tell me your thoughts. Let's create a conversation and a safe space where we can not feel oppressed anymore and we can actually make some positive changes within our community. With the present state of the climate, I think it's absolutely shocking that I'm doing these videos and petitioning for fresh air in public spaces. You'd think that the government would clamp down on the use of aerosols and get to the source and the root of the problem, which would be to hit those corporate companies and ask them to please stop making them, please stop making us ill, please stop making Mother Earth ill, and get us common people to pay for it. Thank you for listening.